Today, I'm going to make the most realistic sushi cake
ever made.
Here's how. I'll use edible paper to make vanilla-flavored seaweed. Then I'm going to make 3 different styles of sushi cakes and place them all on a wooden serving plate. That's also cake. And the best part is I'm going to make strawberry-flavored fish eggs using a brand new technique. This technique is out there. You think I'm gonna be able to pull it off?
We're about to find out.
My name is Natalie Sideserf and I make cakes that don't look like cakes. And today, I'm going to make a sushi cake. Fish is the flashy ingredient when it comes to sushi. It's all,
Look at me, I'm colorful, I'm fresh, I'm raw.
But another ingredient that is crucial to sushi is the rice. Rice is the unsung hero, because if the rice is bad, the whole dish is ruined. And the same goes for this cake. If my dessert rice doesn't look good, nobody's gonna believe that this is real sushi. And my goal today is to make the most realistic sushi cake ever made. So I gotta get this right. I'm packing actual sushi rice into this shallow box, and I'm gonna use it to make a mold. And now it's going right in the freezer.
A few minutes later.
I'm hoping that I can make a mold of this frozen rice. Let's take it out of the wooden box. It's really in there. Gonna get it out of there. Gonna get it out of that wooden box.
I can't get it out.
Okay, there we go. Finally. Oop, the corner cracked off. I'll just shove it back in there. It's fine. This looks pretty good. I froze the rice so it's one solid piece. If the rice wasn't one solid piece, I would have a very, very hard time making a mold of it. I'd be pressing the mold on there and it would just be falling apart and smooshing. It just wouldn't work. But this frozen block of rice, I think I can work with this. Rice is not just solid white, it's a little bit translucent. So I'm making gelatin and I'm gonna add a little bit of milk to create that like milky white color. I don't have any milk. What do I have around here that is white that I can add to gelatin? I've heard that some people have added chocolate to gelatin. I've never done it, but I've heard it's been done. Let's go for it. I gotta melt the chocolate. I'm gonna add it to my gelatin. This is so weird. I'm gonna be really disappointed if I ruin this gelatin. But you know what? We gotta do what we gotta do. I don't have any milk. I'm just mixing it up and hey, that looks pretty good. It's like a foggy white gelatin, which is very similar to rice. Let's bring out the mold. That rice is not frozen anymore. Gotta get it out of there, gotta scoop it. Gotta scoop all that rice out. The mold looks good. Now I'm gonna pour in that chocolate gelatin. I hope the gelatin sets properly. I don't know if that chocolate's gonna mess with it. While we wait for the rice to set, let's work on the fish eggs. We're gonna make salmon roe, which is salmon eggs. And we're gonna do it using this insane technique. I've never done this before. I am so excited to try it. I'm pouring oil into a glass, and then I take that glass of oil and I put it in the freezer. It needs to be very cold. Salmon roe is a reddish orange color, so let's start with that. I've got some clear gelatin here, and I'm adding a little orange colored sweetener mixed with some strawberry extract. I chose strawberry for the sweetener because that is what I have available at the moment. But I think strawberry is a great choice. Can you imagine taking a bite of what you think is fish eggs and tasting strawberry? That's funny. That's weird. I like it. Now I'm pouring the gelatin into a squeeze bottle. All right, this is where things get crazy. Here we've got our chilled glass of oil. Now I'm gonna squeeze drops of gelatin into the oil, and hopefully I end up with little orange gelatin balls. All right, let's drop it in. I love this. Oh, it looks so neat. The idea is the warm gelatin drops hit the cold oil and they immediately firm up, keeping that round shape. This looks really cool. The gelatin balls are starting to settle on the bottom. I just hope that they're firm. I'm a little nervous they're gonna like lose their shape when I take them out of the oil. All right, it's time to drain the oil. Let's see if this worked. Do you wear clothes or know someone who does? Well, get yourself some more by heading over to Sideserfcakes.com. That's where you can get some Sideserf Cake Studio clothes, like this shirt of Paige, the cake notebook. I just got this apron in.
And I love it.
I also got a shirt of Bob the Boba, Larry the Onion, and all designs come in kid and adult sizes. But not just t-shirts, there's all kinds of stuff. I'll put a link below so you don't get lost on your way to the store. And now back to the cake. All right, I've got a mesh strainer. Let's see if this worked. It looks so cool. It looks like salmon roe. This seriously looks just like fish eggs. This is such a fun technique, and it worked on the first try. Success. All right, let's work on the seaweed. This is real seaweed, aka nori. Nori has a wrinkly texture, so I'm crumbling up some foil, and I'm spraying the oil with some foil. And I'm spraying the foil with some oil. I'm using some oil because I'm gonna place this wafer paper on it, and I don't want it to stick. I think this wafer paper is gonna look just like seaweed, as long as I get that green color right. It's like a dark green. There's a little bit of yellow in there too. Now I've just gotta let the wafer paper dry and then peel it off the foil. Well, that didn't work. I've done this before. That did not happen last time. The only thing I did differently this time was I added the oil. The wafer paper sometimes sticks to the foil, so I thought the oil would help me out, but it seems to have just like peeled away completely, and I'm left with these little guys. Okay, let's try this again. Only this time, no oil. No oil. Okay, while we wait for the wafer paper to dry, let's work on the wooden serving plate. Instead of placing our cake sushi on a ceramic plate, I've decided to make a Sushi Getta. A Getta is a traditional Japanese wooden serving tray. I'm making a mold because I really want this to be like super flat and clean. That way it's believable. It's such a perfect rectangle shape that I feel like if I try to sculpt it by hand, it's just not gonna be good enough. So the mold it is, we're using a mold. The mold is set, I just gotta take it apart, pop out the wood, and let's see how it looks. Oh yes, very nice. It looks good. Now I'm gonna fill it up with some white chocolate. Now let's place it in the fridge for a few minutes to firm up. And now we pop the chocolate out of the mold. The white chocolate's looking a little stark, so let's add some color. I watered down some food color, and I'm brushing it on in horizontal strokes. So I'm painting with the grain of the wood.
The chocolate wood.
I'm letting the brush strokes show because those streaks look a lot like wood grain. Now I don't want to overdo it. Gettas are typically a light wood. I'm really excited because the Getta doesn't lay flat on the table, it's slightly raised. So that means I can fit some cake in there. To assemble, I start with my cake, add 2 chocolate feet, and place the wooden board on top. That came together nicely. I love when things work out. Now let's check on our seaweed. I'm a little nervous. All right, the wafer paper dried flat. That's a good start. Now I just gotta try my best to peel it off the foil without ripping it. There are definitely some parts that are sticking, especially along the edge. But this piece is definitely big enough. I can work with this, And it totally looks like dried seaweed. Look at all that texture. Vanilla flavored seaweed. Now I'm gonna carefully cut a strip of this wafer paper. Gotta make sure it's nice and even. And now I'm stacking an oval shaped cake. It's a little small, kinda hard to work with, but that's okay. It is bite-sized, it's meant to be one bite. I'm wrapping that strip of wafer paper around the sides of the cake, and now it's time to bust out that cool salmon roe. Strawberry salmon roe. Oh, this is looking so good. Now let's see how the gelatin rice turned out. This rice is made of gelatin and white chocolate mixed together. I have never added chocolate to gelatin, but let's see how it looks. Oh yeah, that looks just like rice. And the texture is great. It still has that like gummy texture, but it's also firm enough that it's not gonna just fall apart. I'm gonna do this again. I'm definitely gonna do this again. It's slightly translucent, just like rice. Now I'm gonna use this rice to make a salmon roll. I'm using a round cutter to cut out 6 circles. These look so crazy. I can't get over it. It looks like individual pieces of rice, but it's like one solid piece. There are 6 pieces to the roll, so I've got to cut out 6 pieces of cake. Now these are really tiny pieces of cake, but you know I gotta add green buttercream. I gotta find a way.
I don't care if they're tiny.
I have such high expectations for this salmon roll. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna make the salmon in this salmon roll. What can I use? I don't think fondant or chocolate's a good option. I do have some leftover orange gelatin from the salmon roe. I'm gonna try to use that. I'm mixing in some red food color because salmon tends to be a little bit more red than this. It's an orangey red, red-orange. All right, I set it aside, the gelatin's firm, and now I'm going to attempt to cut it into little pieces. I don't have a round cutter that size, but I do have a straw. Oh, these do look like little pieces of fish. Now I'm gonna place the circles into the rice holes, and then place each one on top of my round little cakes. This is cracking me up. They're so cute. And last, I'll wrap wafer paper seaweed around each one. You know what? I'm gonna do something a little crazy. I love everything that I've made so far so much that I'm gonna make nigiri. I already have everything I need to make rice and a piece of fish. And I've got all this leftover chocolate gelatin. All I gotta do is melt it down again. I made a mold out of rice the same way I made the rice earlier, and I'm filling it up with that white chocolate gelatin mixture. Now this might be a little strange, but I made a mold using a real piece of tuna, and it worked! I just gotta make sure I wash it out really well. I still have leftover salmon roe gelatin, so I'm just gonna add some food color and make that my tuna. I am really utilizing my leftovers with this one. So this rice should look good since I made it the exact same way I made it earlier. Now let's take the tuna out of the mold. That is strawberry flavored tuna. That texture is pretty spot on. I cannot wait to see it all together. Let's plate it. And there you have it, a sushi cake. So many of you have asked me to make this. I can't believe it's taken me so long. I love it. I tried out so many fun techniques with this one. I mean, look at the salmon roe. It is so neat. I love every piece. I don't know which one's my favorite. Which piece of sushi is your favorite? All right, let's cut the cake. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate my subscribers. We are at 6.5 million. Help me get to 7. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'll see you next time for another cake.